not going to, this is not an exaggeration. That was one of the most genuinely frightening things I've ever seen in my life. Again, that was one of the most genuinely frightening things I've ever seen in my life, that press briefing. And you might say, Steve, why was that press briefing one of the most genuinely frightening things you've seen in your life? Well, what just happened is the President of the United States just showed that he is deciding what to do about this pandemic, not at all based on science. We now have President Donald Trump is deciding what to do about the pandemic, not based on science and not based on what the doctors are saying. So, yes, he says he says we're going to go back to work sooner than months, without even seeing how this is actually going, without letting the thing play out and seeing how many people die and what the case numbers are. But he's already made his decision. It's not a decision that any of the doctors who work for him agree with. He was asked this numerous times and had many chances to say that the doctors who work with him agree, and he never said that. Dr. Birx was asked point blank if she agreed with it, and she said she didn't. Well, no, she said she didn't say she did. She said we need to look at the data. But what is clear is that President Trump is doing what he wants, and he's not basing it, he's not using science. He's not addressing, I mean, you know, what you need to do, if you're going to make a decision on whether to go back to work, you need to decide how many people are going to die, how many people are going to die from the virus, how many people are going to die because they can't get treatment because the hospitals are overwhelmed, what kind of, aside from people dying, how many people are going to be in the hospital on ventilators and suffering from this, right? So you actually have to figure out, if you're going to make an informed decision on a trade-off, you got to know what one side of the trade is. President Trump has stopped, he's not using science to tell him what the cost will be. He's not listening to what the doctors recommend at all. He has just decided personally, based on nothing, based on no science, he has decided this is what we're going to do. So he has decided about a trade-off where he's not using science to understand one side of the trade-off, and therefore you can't understand it. So he's making a decision about whether we should do A or B without even understanding what B is. And he literally just said, I mean, you just go watch it again. This is something that the doctors, the public health officials don't recommend. And he doesn't care. He was asked, if the doctors recommend X, will you do X? And he said, well, I'm going to listen to a bunch of people. So we now have, and then he's talking about the mortality rates and Bliss. Look, whatever you think about President Trump, he knows jack shit about the science, okay? He knows jack shit about this, and he's up there in front of America making decisions without science. That is one of the most genuinely frightening things I've seen. I've got a dad in a fucking nursing home. My father's in a fucking nursing home, and he might die because this jackass who doesn't know anything is not listening to scientists. My mom is 79. She might die because this fucking jackass has been saying it's a hoax for 2 months and listening to no science, and nothing he does is based on science. So I could lose my parents. Shit, I could get this and I could die. And you know what? If he stood up there and he had a chart and he said, look, this isn't about his policy. If he stood up there and he said, look, I'm going to show you exactly what the benefits and what the costs are, of each side, and he had economists and scientists, and they literally went down. If he did that and he said, look, I genuinely think we should go back to work in 2 weeks because, yes, there's all these terrible costs of going back to work, but it's outweighed by the benefits of going back to work. That's different. But that's not what this guy is doing. This jackass for 2 months has been using no science at all. This is somebody who's dealing with a scientific issue. You need science to understand it, and he's not using science, okay? That's what he's doing. So now, My parents might get killed because this idiot refuses to listen to science. And he's not basing his choices on any of it. Fauci's not there anymore. I hope Dr. Birx is happy that she just trashed her whole reputation. But look, go read it. There's plenty of articles. You can find them. Nothing he says, it's like he's not going to even wait to see what the virus does. He doesn't talk at all about the people dying. It's just he's not listening to science, and he's just making it up. And that's how we're doing policy. And people are cool with that. This is not about whether he chooses A or B. This is about how he's making his choice. And he's making his choice on garbage. This utter fucking moron who's an idiot, who's not using any science and basing all these decisions on garbage, is just saying what he wants and deciding what to do on the spur of the moment. This isn't about what he's choosing to do. It's about how he's choosing to do it. Again, this isn't about what he's choosing to do and how he's choosing to do it. And I don't care what fucking party you are, and I don't care if you're a fucking Democrat or Republican. If you fucking sit up there and there's a fucking pandemic going on and you're deciding what to fucking do based on jack shit, and you're not listening to science, and you're just a crazy person ranting and raving, using your whims to decide what to do, I don't care what the fuck you say you're doing. That is bullshit, and and I will never support that. I don't care whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. You have a jackass who knows nothing, who's basing his decisions on nothing. It's not about the policies. It's how he's choosing the policies, and he is choosing these policies based on jack shit. He's using no science. He's getting no advice. He's basing it on no good advice. He's just deciding what to do based on his fucking whims. So I don't care what he decides to do. We have somebody running the country in a fucking pandemic that's only going to be getting worse, and he's just not listening to anyone, and he hasn't even read anything on this. It's just all garbage in there, and he's basing it on jack shit. God damn, it's one of the fucking most frightening things I've ever seen, what I just saw. You got a person this person is making decisions that are affecting hundreds of millions of people, and he's basing it on nothing. He's basing it on how he feels. So whatever you think of the policies, he's just basing it on whatever he feels like. But it ain't based on science. I'll tell you that. It ain't based on science. Unbelievable. So this is where we're at with a pandemic. This is where we're at with a pandemic. And let me tell you this. I know there's people out there who like Trump and don't like Trump. But if you are a Trump supporter, that's fine. That's your choice. But if you're a Trump supporter and you say to me, no, Steve, he's basing this on science. No, Steve, he's basing this on really solid reasoning. Well, you are fucking lying to yourself. If you look me in the eye and you tell me, Steve, no, he's not basing this on nothing. He's basing this on really good reasoning based on science, based on really understanding what's going on and listening to experts. If you tell me he's doing that, you know you're fucking lying. You are a liar and you're intellectually dishonest. So you can support him. That's your choice. If you want to vote for him, fine. If you don't want to vote for him, fine. But what's not fine, if you tell me that he is basing his decisions on this, on anything other than garbage, on anything other than the whims of the moment, then you're not being honest with yourself. And you're lying to me, and you know it. You know it. And if you don't know it, you're a fucking idiot. Wake up. It's time to fucking wake up. You know why? Because it's going to affect you. Watch what happens in a week. We've been talking about this for 2 months. Watch what happens in a week. Watch what happens in 2 weeks. It's a fucking pandemic, and this guy is making decisions based on nothing. On nothing. And again, it's not about the policy. If he stood up there and if he had gone through and said, look, these are all the costs, these are all the benefits, and he had given, and look, there's a case to be made. If you watch our broadcasts, I've been talking about this. I'm the one, me, who a week ago, when you didn't see many people saying this at all, I was saying a week ago, or even longer ago, you go check my Twitter feed. I was saying, look, this social distancing stuff is unsustainable. I'm the one who's been saying that. Go check my fucking Twitter feed. I posted a week ago at least saying, look, you can't shut down the economy for this long a time. I've been saying this. This isn't about which policy the president chooses to do. It's about how he goes about making his decision. That's the issue, and he's basing his decision on garbage. It's what he feels like, and it's not educated at all, and it's not based on expert reasoning at all, and he's just doing what he feels like based on a whim. And that's fucking frightening to me. And you should be frightened too. And if you're not frightened about that, you're not being honest with yourself. And yeah, this is called agenda-free TV, but you know what? Making decisions based on solid reasoning rather than whims, dealing with something scientific, using science to understand something that requires science to be understood, that's not having an agenda. If being committed to using decent reasoning processes to understand what's going on and make decisions is an agenda, oh, fine, we have an agenda. My big agenda is that people should use science to understand a scientific phenomenon. What a big agenda that is. My big agenda is that people shouldn't make important decisions based on their whims, but should actually fully understand, based on what experts say and based on science, what the options are, and then make a decision based on that. So if that's my agenda, so be it. I have an agenda. My agenda is that you should use science to understand scientific things, and you shouldn't just base important decisions on whatever you feel like. That's my agenda. Fine. I have an agenda. So it's not agenda free in that sense. Fine. I have an agenda. It's great. It's unbelievable. It's a pandemic. People are dying. Over 500 people have died in the U.S. from this already. People are dying, and many more people will. Unbelievable. Can't believe what I just saw. One of the most genuinely frightening things I've ever seen in my life. You know, it's very easy. It's very easy. I posted this today. And again, I'm the one who a week and a half ago was saying, I don't think it's sustainable to have the economy shut down for 18 months. I've been saying that repeatedly on the air. I'm the one who's been saying that. But, you know, it's very easy. It's very easy to say, and I tweeted this out this morning. It's very easy to say, oh, well, we should have everybody go back to work because the benefit outweighs the cost. It's very easy to talk about the benefit outweighing the cost when you haven't experienced the cost. We haven't. Now there's a lot of people out there. There's over 500 families in America that have experienced the cost because over 500 people have died. But for a lot of people, I assume most of the politicians and lots of you watching, you haven't personally experienced the cost. So it's very easy to say, oh, well, the benefit of going back to work right away is worth the cost. But you haven't experienced the cost. It's a hard choice. It's a choice between two bad choices. It shouldn't be an easy choice because it's not. If it's an easy choice for you, you're not understanding the choice. And you're not going to understand this choice, none of us will, until 2 weeks from now when more and more people are dying and in the hospital and getting sick because of this. Probably people we all know. And then you'll have to think, do we want more of this, and how much more of this are we willing to take in exchange for this? But to sit here before any of this is happening and say we understand this choice is nonsense. It's ridiculous. How about this? Wait to talk about the trade-off and wait to decide whether to go A or B. Why don't you wait a little bit until you understand what B is? Wait before you choose between going back to work at this time and having X number of people die and get sick versus waiting longer and having fewer people die and get sick. Wait, just hang on, be patient. Wait a week or two and get a full, better understanding of what that involves. It's easy to sit around and say, yeah, I think we should go back to work, and we'll have 2 million people die, and that'll be fine. Hey, that's not hard. But then you're not really understanding what the cost is then. You're just saying, oh, it's fine, we'll have 2 million people die. It's a hard choice. It's a terrible choice. If it's an easy choice for you either way, you're not really understanding the choice. No matter what you think. If you think this is an easy choice about the trade-off of going back to work early, remember, the experts say you get rid of the social distancing, cases go up. Amount you'll flood the healthcare system goes up. So it's not an easy choice. If it's easy to you, you're not thinking about the choice properly because it's two bad alternatives. Either economy shuts down for a long time and people suffer because of that, or hospitals go get overwhelmed, tons of people die, tons of people get sick. Neither of those is desirable. So the idea that it's just like, oh yeah, we should just do this one. Well, if that's your attitude, then you're not really understanding the choice. Because it's two bad alternatives. There's no easy choice. It's one bad thing or the other bad thing. There's no, yeah, we should just do this one. Let's just do choice A. Choice A will be so much better. No. If you're thinking that way, you're not understanding the two sides of the dilemma. Both choices suck. That's where we're at. Both choices suck. Ridiculous. Just ridiculous. That was one of the most frightening things I've ever seen in my life. But it's not just him. I posted this today. Governor Cuomo did it too. Governor Cuomo of New York, Democrat. He started talking about sending people back to work this morning, and I said the same thing. Go check my Twitter. Check my Twitter. I said the same thing. I said, you can't be talking about this right now because we haven't even, you don't even understand what the bad part is yet of that choice. This idea that you can choose when to go back to work when you don't fully understand the cost yet is ridiculous, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat doing it. Also, no discussion. I guess we've given up on. I guess we've given up on focusing on providing the health professionals with masks and ventilators and other personal protective equipment, because that really wasn't talked about today. Because I guess we're going back to. I guess the big focus is on going back to work. So I guess we're not really focusing on providing the medical providers anymore. That's not like our chief focus, and getting more testing. So we've given up on the testing and the ventilators and the masks? Is that the idea? Just making sure. But guys, you know what? This is a matter of life and death. This is not a time for partisanship. This is not a time for rooting for choosing who to support and choosing what policies to support, like you're supporting a sports team. This is a time to use your head and really understand what the choices are. Really understand what you're choosing when you do A or B. And you can either understand it now. But you know what? If you don't want to understand it now, well, come back and see me in a week. Come back and see me in 2 weeks when you've understood it. Okay? So if you don't really want to understand the choice now, if you want to just say, oh, it's easy, we'll just go back to work. Okay, fine. Go do your own thing, and then come back here in a week when we're still covering this. Come see me next week, and we'll talk about it then, when you have a better sense of what the trade-off is. And if you think what I just said is anti-Trump, and that I hate Trump, and that it's specific to him, you haven't been listening to me. You didn't listen. Go back and listen again, because you're not listening. If you think what I just said is based on a political agenda, you didn't really listen to what I said. You didn't really understand what I said. So I'd advise you to go back and watch it again, because nothing I said has to do with politics on one side or the other. Has to do with how you're making your decisions and using and being responsible in your decision making, and using basic decision making fundamentals like don't make a decision on something scientific without using any science. That's not political. That's about being a responsible decision maker. And if you think what I said is political, I'd ask you to go back and really think about it, because I think it's an important difference. And if you can't understand the difference between criticizing somebody because of what political party they're in, and criticizing somebody based on how they're making decisions, I find that concerning. I think you should want to know the difference. I think that's a very important difference for you to understand. And I think you'll benefit a lot by going back and considering how those two things are different. Because they're totally different. Unfortunately, we're at a place here where a lot of the criticism of Democrats or Republicans is genuinely driven by people who they're not really looking at the issues in a neutral sense. They're just, anything the other side does is bad. The problem is then what happens is a lot of people, if you criticize somebody from a particular party, they just automatically read that as, oh, well, you're just criticizing them because they're in this party. Or you're just criticizing them because they're that person. But that's not what I do. That's not how I do it. That's not how I've ever done it. I don't really give a shit what party is somebody in. And in this case, what I care about is what is somebody using to make their decisions. Somebody's making these important decisions based on their whims of the day. That's idiotic. It's irresponsible. And I don't care what party it is. I will criticize that. It's not political. And again, if you don't understand that, then you're not really listening. I don't think it's actually that hard of a distinction to get. So I'd highly recommend you, if you don't really understand it, go back and think about it a bit. Think about the difference between those two things. Because it's a very important difference. So I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen. No idea. But I'm very, very worried. I am very, very worried about the country. Very worried. And by the way, this idea the president was talking about, that you can do both at once, that you can contain the virus and go back to work both at once. You know who said that? Excuse me, watch our broadcast from 3 weeks ago. That was what the Chinese Communist Party was saying in the Chinese Communist media. You can do both at once. That's what President Xi's been saying. We covered it. But just heads up, guys, the scientists say you can't do both at once. That's what the scientists say. It's a trade-off. It's a trade-off. The science is clear. You lift the social distancing measures, and the virus comes back. It's a trade-off. You can't do both at once. That's what makes it a dilemma. It's two bad choices. So the saying you can do both at once stuff, that's what the Chinese Communist Party was saying 3 weeks ago, and I'm sure they're still saying, that is garbage. It's garbage. And it's obviously garbage. It's just obvious it's garbage. You can't do both at once. That's not how it works. The science is clear. Very obvious. Can do both at once. Yeah, we can go back to work and stop the social distancing, but we can keep the virus under control. Yeah, we'll do both at once. Great. You know, he repeated it again and again and again. That's what President Xi said. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. It just is. I mean, go read the science. I read you papers on the air. We looked at the Imperial College paper. I've read you numerous experts. They say, you don't even have to listen to experts. It's obvious. You stop the social distancing, the virus spreads to more people. How can you do both at once? It's like saying 2 + 2 = 5. Come on. It's ridiculous. That's not having an agenda. Look, I'm going to say what I said before. I don't care what your political party is. If you're an American, if you're in America, my one piece of advice is I said it before, I'll say it again, don't rely on this president and this administration to protect you. Do what you need to do to protect yourself. Unfortunately, that job might be made a lot harder for you soon. Hey, and just a reminder, guys, Just a reminder, in case you didn't know, because you wouldn't have known it from that press briefing, in case you didn't know, because you wouldn't have known, 582 people have died in the United States. 582 people. You know, we probably should talk about that more because no one talks about, for some reason, no one talks about this like it never happened. But each one of them is a person with a family, you know, and a story. So why don't we put it in big letters so we can get it into our brains that this has already happened? Why don't we do this? Let's do this. Let's put it in big letters. Ready? Ready? 582 people in U.S. have died. Okay? 582 people have died. So can we acknowledge that? Okay, that's already happened. That's 582 people. 582 families have lost someone. Think about somebody in your family. Think about somebody in your family, one of your family members, your father, your brother, your grandfather, your grandmother, your son, your daughter, a sibling. Think of what it would be like to lose them. That's already happened 582 times. Oh, it's going to happen a lot more. And every time it happens once, that's going to happen again to somebody. So it's happening. We may not acknowledge it. I didn't hear it acknowledged in the press briefing. I really never have. But it's happening. So I'm thinking about it. I'm acknowledging it. I realize there's a trade-off. It's not an easy choice to me. So just a reminder. That's already happened. To say nothing of all the people who are sitting there on ventilators or whatever and just super sick. We got two bad choices. Shut down the economy for months and months and months and months and months and all of the terrible damage that causes. Or send people back to work and then have flood the healthcare system, overwhelm the healthcare system and all the damage that causes. They're both bad options. It's not an easy choice. It's a terrible choice. I don't see the good option there. If that's an easy choice to you, then you're not properly considering the options and you haven't understood them. It seems like an easy choice to a lot of people out there. Well, you haven't really considered the options. You're not really understanding the options. I hope nothing happens to you. I hope nothing happens to your loved ones. I hope nothing happens to me. I hope nothing happens to my loved ones, but it's going to happen to a lot of us. Whatever. It's too late now. It's too late now, guys. It's going to happen to a lot of us. Get ready. If you want to put your head in the sand and pretend that's not the case, fine, but then you're just ignoring what's happening. Get ready. I've been saying get ready for months. It's still the easy time. Not for the families, not for the people who are sick, and not for the families who've lost, the people who died, of course. But for many people in the United States and in our government, apparently, it's still the easy time. This is the easy time. Because for most people, they haven't personally experienced this. It's easy when you read about it in the paper. You read about it online. Go on your news site and read about it. Read the numbers. That's the easy time. Stops being easy when someone in your family has it or you have it. Then it's not easy anymore. Not so easy then. But this is the easy time. But enjoy it. If you're enjoying it, enjoy it while it lasts, because it ain't lasting too much longer. Hey, I just want to thank the moderators. I know it's been really busy, and the moderators have been working really hard. So I just want to thank the moderators. Thank you to Chandra. Thanks to Mark Helton. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thanks to our Periscope mods, too. Misha's moderating there. Thank you, Misha. Thank you, Linda Belk. Thanks also to our Facebook, and thanks to any of the other Periscope moderators I didn't see there. Thanks also to our Facebook moderators and our Twitch moderators. On Facebook, we have Denise Fredrickson, Kimberly Peterson, Courtney Lane, Shay Durner, Joe Serino, Dan Lindquist. Also, our Twitch moderators, Daily Disclosure, Matthew Johnson, Idaho Star, Keisha Umroth, Callie Smoke, Love Pugs, XXD, and Sully. This is my hometown, by the way, Newton, Massachusetts. That's where my mom is right now and my dad. That's where my folks are. That's where my family is right now. 22 people now have tested positive for the virus. That's 8 new cases since Friday. That's my hometown. That's where all my family is, right there. Newton, Mass. That's where they are. I mean, just look, it's over and over again. All the news reports now coming in. 3 more deaths in Santa Clara County, bringing total to 13. There's so many of them. There's so many news. I can't even keep up with the news reports now. There's just more and more. That's 3 families. 3 families just had somebody die. That's somebody's, mother, father, grandfather, grandmother, whatever, sibling. That's 3 right there. 3 new ones. All right, look, I honestly, I think I need a break after all that. I just need a break. I got to get away from this for a little while. So look, we'll be doing more coverage. Watch if you want. This is Agenda-Free TV. I'll post while I'm not on the air. I'll post on my Twitter account at Lookner. That's where I post breaking news stuff at Lookner. Follow if you want. If you want to unfollow. Be my guest. I don't really give a shit. But that's where I'll be at Lookner on Twitter. We'll have more coverage here, Agenda-Free TV. I do want to thank the people who donated because that's what keeps the channel on the air. I do this full time, so. If you've never seen the channel before and you're like, why are donations popping up during a stream covering the virus? Well, I do this. I don't have another job. This is what I do, and so that allows me to do it. So I do appreciate the donations. Thank you very much, because it's literally what lets me do the channel. So thank you. Again, thank you to the moderators. There's a chat room that viewers, a Discord chat room where viewers talk in between broadcasts. Agenda-Free TV unofficial fan Discord. The mods can tell you where the Discord chat room is, and also if you sign up to the chat room, it's free. You get notifications when we're coming on the air, and you can, if you're interested, you can follow me. Follow Agenda-Free if you want notifications in advance when we're coming on the air, which is the YouTube notifications can be a bit iffy. So I suggest if you're watching on YouTube, find another way to get notifications as well. Follow Agenda-Free TV on Twitter or Facebook, because I always post there, Twitter and Facebook, before we're coming on the air about 20 minutes in advance. And if you do subscribe on YouTube, no, I don't want to go to the broadcast. If you subscribe on YouTube, make sure you choose the notifications bell. See, where am I right here? This is YouTube. This is the channel. There's a bell here. No, that's not it. What am I doing? Notifications, Agenda-Free TV. Oh, I know what I'm doing. Sorry. That's what's wrong. Here we go. There's this bell here. You got to click, after you subscribe, you got to click the bell and click on all notifications. All notifications. And thank you also for the super hearts and the Facebook stars. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. I need to take a break. I really need to take a break. But we'll certainly cover this more. We'll certainly cover this more. Oh, we're going to be back. We'll be covering this more. I mean, I'll either be on tonight or tomorrow. I'm not going anywhere. So we'll keep covering it. I just need to take a break right now. Hey, thanks again to our moderators. I appreciate it, moderators. Thank you. All right. Thanks, mods.